Welcome to this episode of Tech Threads. I'm your host, Max Watson, and today we are talking about networking and AI with Kyle Olson, who is a senior product manager at MoveDocs. Well, Kyle, welcome to Tech Threads. Glad we could have you on tonight.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
It's going to be an awesome episode. For those who are tuning in, we got some really awesome topics that I think will help a lot of the UPG community and any product manager out there, either whether they're trying to get into product or just grow in your kind of field of product. We're going to talk about networking a little bit, Kyle's experience with getting into product and how networking has kind of helped shaped his career, and also just some career growth as Kyle is a senior product manager right now. He's obviously seen some amazing things and been successful. So we're going to see kind of his perspective on some things. But before we jump into it, Kyle, could you kind of explain who you are, what you do, and how you got into product?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm Kyle. What I do I do product management. Obviously, that's that's why I'm here. But oddly enough, so I started out in customer success and kind of worked my way into product management. So currently, I'm a senior product manager in the legal tech space. So I like to joke that I've worked with doctors. I've worked with government officials, and now I'm working in legal tech. So I've worked with kind of some of the hardest people that you can work with. And I really love product. I love building things. That's kind of why I have this nerdy background back here with like Legos and stuff, because I like building things with my hands, and I like building things virtually as well, making great user experiences that delight. So yeah, glad to be here. Glad to talk about networking and my path into product.
Yeah, no, that's great. Can we start out with kind of how you got into product? Can you kind of share that story of how you said you stumbled, but like you kind of fell into product?
Yeah, I did. So I was most people, I think they try to get into product and they take steps towards that. Product was kind of thrust upon me in a good way. I had recently been let go from another company, and while I was being let go, one of the HR people had pulled me aside and was like, "Hey, you should look into doing product management." And this was, I'd say, like 6 or 7 years ago. And I thought, that's really interesting. I don't actually know what product management is. I'd always been in customer success and customer success operations. So I started looking into it and I thought, yeah, I like building things. This would be great. And so I got my next job opportunity as a customer success manager. And what ended up happening is about a year into that opportunity, they said, well, Kyle, we don't want you on the customer success team anymore. We're going to put you on the product team. And I thought, you know what? This is great. Like I had intended to eventually work my way over to the product team, but they said it had something to do, it was in government technology and they needed people with government experience on that team. And so they said, we've got a better place for you. And I wholly agreed. I loved product way more than customer success. And that's been about 4.5 years, and I have not looked back.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty common theme too. A lot of people, at least that I've talked to, will like start out in some company or in some other, field and then kind of like meet people, be given opportunities to like kind of jump into the product space. And yeah, then once they get in, they just love it. And they're like addicted to it. And then that's like the rest of their career is just building these awesome products and doing all these customer reviews and research and like all these really cool
Yeah.
things. How has, I mean, in your experience, obviously you knew some people. How has like networking played a role in you getting into product and then your current growth in product?
Boy, yeah, that's a tough one because I have actually found that specifically in Utah, networking was really challenging. So my for so I'd say I spent about 7 years in different roles within customer success, either managing customer success teams or customer success operations. So my network before I joined the product side of things was always in customer success. So I switched over to product. I didn't have anybody in my network that was a product manager. And I was like, I probably need to know some people in product because I need to learn how to better do my job and learn from these people. And I started networking, and it was like a grind. It was so hard to make connections with anyone. And about maybe about a year or two into my product experience, that's when UPG had reached out to me. So Braden reached out to me on LinkedIn and was like, "Hey, we've got this product management group. You should come check it out." And in my mind, I was like, I'm in. I joined like as quickly as I could because I knew that, and that was 2 years ago now, and I knew that being part of like a siloed group where you have all product managers, all people striving for the same thing, wanting to learn from each other and better each other was better than reaching out to random strangers on LinkedIn that maybe work somewhere that I would like to work or that have something in common with me. And that's been the best experience for me is having that like siloed network of there's like 600 of us in there now of product managers in this space versus LinkedIn.
Oh, for sure. And I think because I've read like when I was in college, I had some like networking classes and I read these like networking books of like, oh, just like cold message and like to some degree, like it does work, but there's so many better ways, like you mentioned, like these communities that are awesome, like UPG, which is, I mean, around the country, I've even talked to some other friends who are in product all over the country, and they don't even have anything nearly as awesome as UPG when it comes to like member support and community, where it is like
Yeah,
siloed. It's this like new way to network and I think it's kind of like this hidden gem that when people find out about it,
it
it's like, wow,
is.
like where has this been? And like, I mean, from that perspective, like how do you like leverage a community like this as awesome as UPG to kind of help you in your product growth and meeting other product managers? And what advice would you give to people out there who like maybe just joined UPG on how they can, really take advantage and contribute to the Utah Product Guild community?
Yeah, I would say don't be silent, don't be shy. I'm like an extroverted introvert, so I'm usually like a really quiet guy, but I force myself, especially recently in the last couple of years, I've been forcing myself to put myself out there to make sure that I am doing what's best for myself and my career growth, and oftentimes that means that I put myself into awkward situations or ask dumb questions. So my goal for myself when I joined UPG was to contribute, to be there talking with people, whether it be contributing, hey, I'm working on this project, or I'd like some advice on this over here. Somebody asked for advice, starting topics, and just making sure that I'm not waiting until something happens and I need to find a job, but that I'm just there participating. It doesn't have to be a daily thing, but you could be in there on a weekly basis. And it's kind of the same with LinkedIn. I find it a little bit harder to do on LinkedIn, honestly, but like just be there and be communicating, be interacting. Someone leaves a comment about, hey, I just built this application. Would you like to hop in and check it out? Sure. I'll hop in and check it out, poke around, see if I can break it or if I have any feedback. There's great ways to contribute. And then those people are going to think about you later on when they're looking for something else.
Yeah, I think, and I feel like a lot of people are kind of in that same boat. I know I am. I'm kind of growing more out of like the introverted thing, but like a lot of people are like these introverts, kind of like who want to get out there, but it's kind of hard. Like there's a barrier. Like I feel it
It's
all the time.
hard.
Like, oh, like we're like trying to go to networking events like in college. I was like, I don't want to go to this, but I like have
Listen,
to if I want to. Yeah.
I'm a remote employee and I've been remote since like the beginning of 2020. It's like right before the pandemic hit. I was already working remotely and I went to the office for the first time in December. So that's like almost 5 years I hadn't been in an office. And when I walked into the office for my onboarding, I was looking around. I had to tell people like, listen, if I'm odd, it's because I haven't been in an office for so long. And I'm also like an introvert. So like it's not you, it's just me. It was the funniest thing. But yeah, it was like I think one of the best things you could do is put yourself out there and just don't be afraid to be turned down or to have somebody say like, no, sorry, like or just leave you on red, right? Like that's okay. Like you're gonna struggle and you're gonna fail when it comes to networking over and over, but you're gonna find yourself meeting some really great people that you're gonna go out and get sushi with, and then maybe it'll turn into a job opportunity in the future or a friendship. You never know.
Yeah, I think I was talking to John, who was our first episode this season, and he kind of said the same thing. Like, you're always going to get rejected. I mean, it's kind of like a sales thing. Anyone who's been in like sales or even like customer success, I'm sure you kind of felt this. Like, like whether you're the best networker ever or the best social charisma, like whatever, you're going to get rejected. People aren't going to respond. There might be these like kind of like weird situations. So you just kind of look past that because like the benefits, like you said, like you can meet someone and then just that changes your life. Or like you find this new
Yeah.
friend that you go and like play golf with or like do all these amazing things. So I think getting over that fear of like rejection kind of thing is such a big milestone and kind of pushes people if you can get over that to find all these like awesome people who are willing to help that you can help and you kind of build this community.
It's a lot bigger of a hurdle than you think it is too. I'd say
Right.
it's an invisible hurdle that we make much larger than we need to. And once you get past that, like for me, I've had some goals recently of just saying yes to opportunities like this, going on a podcast or speaking somewhere where I wouldn't normally have said yes. And I'm removing these barriers for myself, and it's been fantastic. It's really helped me grow as a person, and I love it. I'm going to continue to say yes to all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, that's a great mindset. What helped you kind of get over that hurdle? Or do you have any like advice or tips that you use, whether like mental tips or like actual physical tips, like of how to get over that fear and that hurdle of like being hesitant to network with people?
No, it's still there every time, especially if it's like a connection that I really want to make. Like maybe somebody works somewhere, like at Google, for example, somebody who's there that I really want to network with. It's always going to be there. But the best thing that I can do is just do my due diligence, right? Like if there's somebody that I want to network with, I've got access to LinkedIn. I'm going to go check out their profile, see what they've been posting about, see what they've been sharing, maybe comment on a post that they've shared, or reshare something and just try to add value to that conversation. One of the things, so I'm part of Arnold's Pump Club and the application, and one of the things that he's always saying in there is be curious about others. You know, don't make it about you, but be curious about them and their situation. And for me, that's really helped. Yeah, maybe it's about me. Maybe I just got laid off and I'm trying to find myself a job. And that's the most important thing. But that person, they don't probably care that I'm looking for a job. They care about what they've got going on. So if I'm curious about them and add value to what they're doing, then eventually that could turn into an opportunity for me.
Oh, for sure. There's a lot of like self-help books out there that are kind of boring to read, but I kind of talk about that of like adding value and not trying to like
Yeah,
think of it as like transactional. Like you just like be curious, like get to know someone. You can have some really good relationships, even if it doesn't lead to anything in the future. Like just meet people to meet people and have a good time. And that is
exactly.
a really genuine way of connecting with people.
Yeah, providing value to them in the way that you're sharing a post that they've shared or you're just liking something and being curious. I mean, that shows somebody that you're more than just transactional, that you're actually interested
Mhm.
in what they're doing. And it like you said, it could pan out into something, it could not, but at the very least, you're getting your reps in, you're practicing networking, and the worst thing you could do is not take that opportunity and then a year later think, man, I really wish I would have tried networking earlier on because now I'm in this situation and I'm really up against it.
Yeah, and there's even multiple like studies have been done that show that like networks like this, oftentimes they don't pay off or like pay off if you really think of it that way. In like as multiple years. Like you might know someone and then like 10 years down the line, they might be the owner of some company or like have some open opportunity. They think of you and kind of like you connect that way. So you just never know with who you
Yeah.
meet, what's going to take and what's not going to take. And I just think one of the biggest things, at least that's helped me, is just like force yourself to do it no matter how much you hate it or how
Yes.
much you think it's going to be feared or like people are going to like remember you. You got to remember one thing, because I remember this in like because I played college basketball, and so obviously you have a lot of people watching you, and so we had a lot of like psychological coaches come in and talk to us, and they're like, guys, because we had early on like sometimes people would like you miss a shot or like you throw up some random air ball, the whole crowd's booing you, but like that starts getting into your head and like you can't really make that let that affect you. And so we had people come in and talk about it, and they're like, guys, there's this thing called like the spotlight effect, where you think a lot of times these mistakes that you make are like so much bigger than they actually are, or like these rejections are so much bigger than they actually
Interesting.
are. When
Yeah.
in reality, it's like it's just you thinking about it. And then like I thought like, oh yeah, like we've played people and like that dude airballed and I didn't even think about it like for a single second when he did it. Like nobody thought about it. And so like we're making it a much bigger deal. And I feel like that applies a lot to like networking. A lot of times we feel like this fear of like, oh, he didn't respond. Now like you're all like, oh no, 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 like something bad happened, you feel bad. But like in reality, it's really not that big of a deal. Like you just shoot your shot. If it goes, great. If not, like who cares? Like just move
Yeah,
on to the next.
exactly. So it's funny you mentioned sports because I grew up doing a lot of wakeboarding, hence like the wakeboard in my background here is a huge part of my earlier days. And I got really good with my friends. We would do different tricks and stuff. And sometimes we were really nervous about trying a new trick because we were worried. we're gonna fall, get hurt, and we were doing stuff where you actually could get really hurt. But you know what? Like you hop out there, you take that first face plant and get the wind knocked out of you, and then after that, nothing could really get worse, right? So same with
Yeah.
networking. Like shoot your shot, man. You had a typo in that message you sent out. That's
Yeah.
okay. Everybody does it. It's fine. It's just about getting that practice in and trying to step outside your comfort zone. Be curious. Find groups like Utah Product Guild where you can be participatory in there, and don't wait until the last minute. I think that's probably one of the best things is don't wait until you have to. Start it now because it's like eating your veggies. You've got to do it so that you're taking care of your network and yourself.
Right. And there's a book, if anyone's out there like really interested in learning about networking from like real professionals who do it for like a living, there's a book called Never Eat Alone. And it basically talks about that idea like networking's a muscle. You just got to keep doing it. And eventually you get
Yeah.
like decent at it, or not even like great at it, but like it becomes natural. And then you're just always making these connections, kind of joining with people. And then next thing you know, you have this like massive network that you can help and provide value to, and also get help when you need it. And you didn't even notice that you were building it the entire time. Like you're just constantly just being a good person and helping out. Um,
Yeah. When I was
yeah,
younger, when I first made my LinkedIn account, I didn't want to come off as like I didn't know how networking worked. LinkedIn was still really new to me. This was like I think like 13 years ago, and I didn't want to seem desperate, so I just didn't connect with anybody. I waited for them to reach out and connect with me, but now looking back, oh, how naive I was. That's because that's not how it works, right? Like
yeah.
people, yeah, they're going to connect with you, but if you want to grow your network, like I said, it's about being curious and connecting with others. Like you'll have people reach out to you, you're going to do the same thing. And I look back and I laugh, but I just didn't know any better. And if I could go back and tell myself differently, I definitely would. But now I know a lot better. And if you get random LinkedIn messages from Kyle wanting to connect with you, it's because I'm exercising that muscle.
Yeah, that's how has networking in your experience changed from like when you first got into either product management or your career versus like now when you're kind of more established. I've seen you all over LinkedIn and UPG. A lot of people know you. How has it changed, or how has that process changed throughout the years?
Well, I'll start with something that my great uncle told me. So he was a computer engineer, built the first IBM personal computer that's in the Smithsonian right now. And he used to tell me, he's like, Kyle, back in the day when I was doing it, it was a handshake. You would meet people, you shake their hand, you get their business card, and now he's like, you have to be more proactive and work harder because it's all online. You're still going to meet people in person, you're going to do meetups and lunches and things like that, but you really have to put yourself out there. And I think I had mentioned it early on where in Utah specifically, I found that it was a lot more difficult to network because I feel like the competitive nature that we have here makes it a little bit harder for people to open up their network to accept new people. When I was in the Bay Area, I didn't have that same feeling over there, and that's where that group UPG has really come into play. So I think maybe where it's changed is that people are beginning to understand that you've got to find common ground in order to connect with people. So through UPG, we're all product managers or aspiring product managers, seasoned product managers, and we're working on building things. Maybe we're working on our own applications or we're addressing problems at work for our customers. We're talking about the same things. We're speaking the same language. We're learning from each other. So I'm pretty active on LinkedIn. I try to be, but I try to be almost more active in the Utah Product Group because I know that for me at least, there's more value there because of the combined mentality that we share. That combines, we're all product managers working towards the same goal.
Right. And I think UPG is so unique because I feel like it's kind of that idea of like when everyone does things one way, sometimes you kind of get lost in the crowd. But if you kind of do a different thing or go a different path, there's so much more opportunity to grow and to learn. I think UPG provides a lot of that. Like it's a lot more siloed. It's a lot more like people who are serious about product. And it's just such a great, camaraderie. I know a lot of the people there are like always willing to help. Like with this podcast, like I don't, everyone that I've messaged is like super excited to hop on and like give to the UPG community. Yeah, like you. And it's just like, it's such an awesome like type of energy that's in UPG. How like for you, how have you found the most value out of UPG, and how do you recommend that other people who might be more like sitting back and watching UPG, how can they contribute more and find kind of the same value you do?
I'd say it's almost the same as LinkedIn, but instead of putting it out there to thousands of strangers, you're putting it out there to 600 of your closest friends that are doing the same thing as you. So maybe you don't have something to post about, but somebody pops in and says, "Hey, I need some advice. I want to break into product management," and you are a product manager. How did you get into product management? Maybe that's not how they'll get in, but you can share your experience. Or maybe somebody is looking for some help with AI, and you've got experience with AI because you used it to build your own application. There's so many different ways that you can contribute. I think the worst thing that you could do is just be silent and see it, read the messages and then not contribute. There's sometimes though where like there's topics where I'm like, I have no idea what they're talking about, and I'm just gonna shadow it and leave like the brain comments or a brain emoji on there to let them know that like, yes, I think that's a really knowledgeable thing and I'd like to learn more. But yeah, I think just putting yourself out there and talking, sparking conversation. We've got different channels, right? So we've got like the AI channel, we've got the random channel, we've got content channels in general. There's lots of different places where we could be useful to each other.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I think a lot of people are. I feel like some people just kind of hesitate sometimes. I know for me, for a little bit, I was like, oh my gosh, like I don't know how I'm going to contribute. Like I'm not like I'm in college right now. I'm not a product manager. I don't have like the expertise that a lot of the people in UPG have. But I think it's that idea of like ask questions, like spark conversations and get those rolling because you'll learn so much more heading those conversations and kind of asking those questions than just like passively
Yeah.
sitting back or like watching anything.
Yeah, the advice channel is my favorite because it's for advice, right? Like if I have a question, I'm going to go into the advice channel and I'm going to ask it. And I think in UPG, I've gotten over the fear of feeling awkward or uncomfortable posting in there because I've been around it for so long. Um, but it's just that muscle that you exercise. And yeah, the advice channel is my favorite one, followed by the AI channel. That one has so much good stuff in there, and it applies directly into work and what I'm doing and how I can better prioritize and work harder and or work smarter, not harder at work. So those are probably my two favorite channels.
Yeah. And for those of you out there listening, like feel free to chime in, like go to UPG, make comments, start these conversations because it not only helps you, but it helps everyone else who is in that community. I really like too how you mentioned like the whole AI channel because I've been following that a lot too. Because AI is such this like new thing and people are still trying to figure out how to use it. I mean, just as like out of curiosity, like how have you been using AI as a product manager right now? And kind of what value have you seen directly from that?
Yeah, so I've used AI in a bunch of different ways. One, I've used it to help me write up product descriptions for features that were being reassessed and basically a new like white sheet for sales being done for them. So rather than sitting back and saying like, okay, Kyle's gonna try his best to be creative, I used AI, ChatGPT to go in and say, okay, you know what? Let's start with this first one, really refine that first one, feature X, give me a one-liner, and then give me a quick sales pitch. And then I did it 50 more times for the rest of them. It was great. I was able to take a task that probably would have taken me a week to do and do it in a matter of a few hours. I also do it for spreadsheet analysis. I do like analyzing spreadsheets myself, but I don't always have the time for that. So I turn it over to ChatGPT, let it analyze it. And then more recently, I actually had it build a prototype for me using Replit, a prototype of basically like an email program based off of some filtered lists and things like that, just as a mock-up to show the people around me, the people I work with, what was possible for some new functionality that we were looking at doing. So it's great. It helps save me time. And if nothing else, it's a coworker that I could just talk to and bother at any time I want.
Yeah. No, for I think that's a great way to look at it. Yeah. Because I mean, you could ask you so many questions. And I feel like if people haven't already started using AI, especially as product managers, I feel like I would highly encourage them to give it a try. Like you said, like it took a
Yeah.
week's worth of work and condensed it to like maybe a couple hours, maybe like a little bit of testing here and there. Like it really boosts, especially, I mean, kind of leading off of that too. I know like junior PMs, a lot of times they want to like, show progress become better product managers in a short amount of time. How would you recommend that they do that? And is AI something that they can use to kind of better their PM skills along that path?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. There's two things that I would really recommend. I wouldn't recommend going after like the high dollar amount paid certifications. Those are great to have, but I found that certifications only really get you so far. What people really want to see is drive and learning, or the ability or desire to learn. So I know Pendo and Mind the Product, they have a bunch of free courses that you can do. That's a great way to, in small chunks, get some micro certifications and get some hands-on experience with product theories. I've done a couple myself. There's a couple more that I really would like to do. And then also using AI as like a coach for product management. That's actually something that I've done quite a bit of, is have AI coach me on, I've got this situation. What are some solutions that you can think of? And that might get my mental juices flowing. There's tools like Replit where you can start to make your own applications and show that, yeah, you're actually making and building products over here on the side. Um, all great ways to show that you're learning and you're dabbling in AI, if that's the direction that you want to go.
Yeah. And do you have any advice for people out there? Like once they do these like courses or like they build these things, they go out there and they try it and they try to get these skills. How do you advise that they like show people these skills? Because I know a lot of times, like I'm currently a software engineer right now, and like we have like GitHub or like you post it
Oh
online and then
yeah.
you post it out, so you can like see like, oh, I built this, and you can actually go and play with it. How do PMs kind of have that same sort of relationship, or be able to build something or like do research, and then how do you advise that they show it to other people?
Yeah, definitely. So it's actually something that I need to get better at too. But a portfolio where you can host those things online, host your certifications, host work that you've done, resume about you. I had a manager once that had a really, really great portfolio. And I was like, man, I need to make my portfolio like his, because it was so great. It was so informative. He even had the "Would you like to know more" on there from Starship Troopers, which I thought was just so fantastic. And it was great. So I've actually started working on my own portfolio where I could say like, yeah, learn a little bit more about Kyle. And here's, his resume, here's his certifications, his work experience, here's what he's interested in. And that would be my biggest recommendation. A portfolio won't land you the job, but it's certainly a nice to have. I think your network and your connections and experience are going to be vastly more important for getting a job, but a portfolio is going to be that cherry on top that might set you apart from the rest.
Yeah, do you have like a platform in specific that you use for your portfolio, or how do you host that?
So mine right now is actually through uh, I'm using was it Visual Code Studio, or Visual Studio
Visual
Code.
Studios? Yeah.
Yeah, Visual Studio, and I've been using ChatGPT actually to code my own website. So it writes the code for me. I'll go in and edit it in the Visual Studio, and then I am attempting to host it on GitHub myself. But it's been really tricky because I'm not a programmer, so I don't know coding language or anything like that. I could probably use like something to do it for me like WordPress, but I really wanted to try to learn how to do it myself. So that's a project I've been working on for some time now. I call it Kyle the Product Guy right now, but name to be determined.
To be determined. That's awesome that you're going and building it too, because I feel like you just learn so much, and especially where you work with engineers. Like you get a taste of the frustration sometimes that come with coding and trying to figure
Oh
things
man.
out, and so you kind of like you can sympathize
Yes.
more with them. Yeah. I was gonna let you know because I've actually launched. If you want a free place to put websites once you're done, I know GitHubs has like Git pages. I'm pretty sure that you can host it
Yep.
on.
That's what I've been using.
Okay, yeah. Netlify. I've used Netlify to post some of my like web apps that I've built, and that's free. So I don't know how
Oh.
GitHub pages work. So if that's not like working great, I can send you a link to it. Like Netlify works great. It's free. It's super easy to set up. ChatGPT helped me figure out like all the ins and outs of
Of
setting up and
course.
hosting
Yeah.
it. So yeah, so there's just that tidbit. But before we wrap up, because we're kind of coming up on time, do you have any last advice for product managers out there, whether they're junior PMs, senior PMs, people who want to get into product, on any last like tips you would give them on networking and using AI in that process?
Yeah. I would say use AI to help prepare you for your outreaches. Maybe ask it to help you where there might be a blind spot that you're not seeing. And it's really good, especially ChatGPT. ChatGPT is really conversational. It's really good at coaching, and it can help write really great things. I would not let it write something for you and then send that out if you're sending out a message. I would write it yourself, run it through ChatGPT, check it for errors, check it for context and things like that. Let it do its thing, and then take that away and make it your own. That's what I would do. And then the biggest piece of advice I think I could give is just to be curious. Don't sit back and say, well, I don't know how to do something. I don't know how I should reach out to this person or how I should do XYZ. Be curious. Use AI to help spark your curiosity because it's going to coach you and teach you things that you didn't know were possible. And that's what's really going to set you apart is curious people. Other people like those who are curious because they're learning, they're evolving, they're changing, they're adapting. If you're just making it all about you and the way that you've been doing things forever, that doesn't show growth and development and change and the desire to learn. And that's what's really been important for me is curiosity. Curiosity it didn't kill the cat. It made the cat so much better because it was curious about its surroundings and went off and explored and had so many different experiences. So that's what I would say. Like I said, I use AI like a coach to proofread my things to help me see things that maybe I didn't see to open me up to new ideas. And it's been fantastic. I don't let it speak for me or do anything for me necessarily. I still like to proofread my own things and make it my own. But it's nice having a second set of eyes there, if you will, before I send something off, because now I know that, okay, I proofread it, somebody else or something else has proofread it.
Yeah, for sure. And that's just great advice for those of you listening out there. Just be curious, be interested in other people, and good things will follow. But Kyle, thank you again so much for hopping on tonight. The advice you gave was, awesome, and I hope a lot of people find value in this. So yeah, once again, thanks for hopping on.
Yeah, thanks so much, Max. This is great. We should do it again.
Yes, we should.